was Paulo Banchero. We haven't spoken about Banchero yet, so we're leaving him to the end here. He's 19 years of age. I don't know why that sounded so weird. 19 years old, 6'10" forward from Duke, who is widely considered one of the best offensive players, offensive big men in this class, if not the best player in general. Really high level passing, but seems to be just slotted in at number 3. Would you take him at 1? Is that how high you're going?
Yeah, absolutely. He's my number one player in this class. You mentioned the passing. He's probably the best passer out of like the lottery prospects in this class. He's probably number one. And when you can get a guy being a solid passer at 6'10", 250 pounds, I mean, and that's not even his best skill set. His best skill set is scoring. So for me, he's the number one option in this class. I think he has, number one potential like scoring upside on a good team. So for me, those attributes kind of jump him above of Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren in this class.
Yeah, not to spoil too much from when I do mock draft later in the week, but he's jumped up to at least number 2 for me, and I've got him in that top 2. Him and Chet pretty close, and I could see it going either way. I am falling a little bit out with Jabari at this point. 28% usage at Duke, and I think a lot of people look at it and go, "Oh, I'm not sure." Like 34% shooting. Where's the defense? Can he protect the rim? Does he have to play exclusively at the 4? Is this an offensive only big man? Like where does he fit with that? Let's talk about the shooting, because he hit 34% on a 25% 3-point attempt rate, which is not a bad number. And I would expect, given some of his other shooting touch, that he will be able to become a better NBA 3-point shooter than that 34% at Duke may have indicated to us.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a better shooter than the numbers lie. You mentioned 34% from three, which is still not a bad number.
Mm.
And when you take into account the type of attempts he was taking, pretty difficult shots, a lot off of the dribble. For me, when I went back on the tape and looked, a lot of his misses came off of shots that he really like hesitated before taking the shot. I think he does need to iron out just consistency, getting into his shot better, footwork, things like that. But from a touch standpoint, you mentioned it. I think he has all the numbers that you can project him to be a decent enough shooter. And again, you go back to his size and strength combination. You look at him in the mid range, he's probably one of the best mid range creator shooters in the class at his size. That's just another aspect of his game that I think will help translate to the next level. And then expanding that out to the 3-point line, I don't really see him ever being kind of a sharpshooter like Jabari Smith probably will be. But him just being like a league average 3-point shooter, I think is really all you really need from a guy who's probably projected to be kind of a 3-level scorer. So maybe the 3 from long distance might be the weakest part of his offensive game, but I don't think it's going to be an overall negative part of his game.
I don't think, and you correct me if I'm wrong with this, I don't think he needs to be a sharpshooter 3-point guy. Like, it's not like he's going to be utilized in the way that Ryan Anderson was, where it's like, get out there and bang in threes. And maybe, to be honest, the way that Jabari Smith is used. The common player comparison for Banchero seems to be Detroit Pistons era Blake Griffin, a guy that I was talking to this with my son the other day. It's about Blake Griffin, how he just evolved his game every year and became a 3-point shooter and then became a ball handler and a passer and like a pseudo point guard. But Banchero's coming in with a lot of those skills already, with that ability to hit some threes, can improve there, but to handle the ball as well. So being a guy that where you can just put the ball in his hands and let him be not the offense, but a big part of the offense, means he doesn't have to be that level of sharp shooting 3-point shooter, in my opinion, because he's going to be able to orchestrate a bunch of stuff rather than a guy who's going to be just doing pick and pops and spot ups in the corner as a big man, which maybe is what leads or Jabari Smith career pushes towards. I see them as very different players, and I think the lack of elite 3-point shooting is not going to hurt Banchero that much.
Yeah, no, I'm in full agreement. I think he brings enough offensively in terms of scoring and playmaking that the shooting, it kind of is what it is. And then if he turns out to be a good shooter, then that's just an added bonus. And then if he kind of flattens out in a low 30% from 3, then he brings enough in the mid range, getting to the rim, finishing, and then the playmaking again. I think he's definitely going to be a positive offensively overall.
Last thing with Banchero is defense. We talk about 6'10" guy that maybe would have to play small ball center at times, but the block rate's really low. The steal rate's okay, but it's not great. Defensively, is he disastrous or is he okay, or is it again just like a Blake Griffin comparison where he's not the best defender, he's probably below average, but the offense just really sort of wipes out a lot of those concerns?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a worse athlete than Blake, so he'll definitely have to try a lot harder on defense, I think, to be impactful. I don't think he's a disaster, though. There definitely were disastrous moments at Duke, and primarily it kind of came from the lack of effort and trying and just being consistent. I think he has shown flashes of weak side rim protection, staying in front of guys on the perimeter, but they're a little too far, few in between. I do think he's a really good communicator. You watch the games and he's pointing out guys, pointing teammates where to go. Seems to always know, in terms of a team defensive scheme, like where people need to be. So overall, he might not ever be kind of a lockdown defender or even a positive defender. But again, 6'10", strong frame. You think at least he'll be able to hold his own in the post and down low. So for me, he brings enough offensively. You mentioned Blake Griffin, kind of the similar archetype where they're hyper efficient offensive players and then just maybe neutral defenders, and that's really all you need from them because they're bringing so much usage on the offensive end. And I think Paul Banchero is kind of going to bring that to the NBA as well when he gets there.
It's going to be really exciting to see what he's able to do once he does get drafted, looking like again at number 3. But yeah, like you, I'm pushing him a little bit higher there. We'll get back